Welcome to Ask EMBN. This is our weekly Q&A show. If you've got any questions about e-bikes, preferably on the technical side, let us know in the comments underneath. Use the hashtag AskEMBN. You might notice this myself and Henry this week's a bit of a tech takeover from GMBN Tech, but nonetheless, we should be able to help you out. First up this week is from Cahoots. Is a 12-speed drivetrain needed on an e-bike, where a 10-speed one might suffice and where less? What do you reckon?
Nope. I think the SRAM, don't they do their e-bike specific drivetrains?
They do, yeah.
Actually, 8-speed or something?
An 8-speed one, yeah, that's absolutely right. And it's actually got steel cogs on it, which really is the highlight here. So yeah, like Henry said, 8-speed, that is the key. You don't need that many gears because you have got power assistance. That's kind of the whole point of e-bikes. So don't feel like you have to go up to 12 speeds. However, durability is king. So what you want to be looking for is, in an ideal world, a steel cassette. There's plenty of options out there on the market from 8-speed all the way up to 12-speed.
Yeah, it's also worth thinking about the chains you go for. The less cogs you have in your cassette, the thicker the chains can be, or the wider they can be.
That's a very good point.
And then the bushings can take that oversized nature of an e-bike chain further.
Yeah, of course, and some of those e-bike chains actually have, I've seen one on one of Chris' bikes, got bigger pins as well.
Yeah, huge oversized
which you don't really see on normal bikes,
Yeah, you're starting to see, Shimano were actually recommending their downhill teams run the e-bike chains now, just because shifting under load, the chassis is so much stiffer that it will give more consistent shift.
I think Shimano should probably recommend all downhill racers to use that chain, by the looks of what's happened in the last couple of years. All right, so next up from Harry S225. What's better for a beginner rider, an e-bike or a mountain bike?
Yeah, what do you think about this?
Personally, I think any bike is good to learn on. You don't have to pigeonhole the style, but they both have different traits. So I'd say you learn on a regular mountain bike. The good sides are you're quite in touch with the trail because the bike, whatever it is going to be a lot lighter than an e-bike. So you're going to feel your traction. You'll know accordingly how much power you can put down. Of course, later you could develop that towards an e-bike if you're that way inclined. But of course, something that is a bit of a downside with beginners on non-e-bikes is it can be quite a tiring sport to learn. Now, I think I'm probably speaking for us both. If you've done it long enough time that you've kind of learnt on miles, we're used to riding that stuff, and it can actually put people off that are trying to learn.
Yeah, I mean, I think it depends where you live. Like, if you lived in a resort town, and in 1 year, basically it's vertical height equates learning, how much you can plumb out.
Yeah, for sure.
And if you've got chairlifts and things like that, you can get a huge amount of mileage under your belt very quickly.
Yeah.
If you're not bike fit, you've just come to it, learning, you're limited physically as much as you are by time and the terrain on hand. However, I do believe there is also an argument for kind of doing your apprenticeship and, on a normal bike and then kind of progressing up to it. I think it will give you a greater appreciation for just the places your e-bike can get you, and also for the people that aren't on them. Maybe sympathise a bit more with them.
I'm completely with you. I do think this. I do ride both bikes now. I have finally got an e-bike. I've already made a couple of videos. But what I would add is if you're going to start on an e-bike, which is fine by all accounts because you're going to be more encouraged to try and ride more vertical because you have that assistance. You want to try and start with some basic skills. It's really important to develop these before you go too far. What I mean by that is things like the track stand, even lifting your front wheel and rear wheel over obstacles, and the bunny hop. They're all key, and they will all make you a better rider at the end of the day. Because when you ride an e-bike, there's a few things that are different to riding a normal bike. The suspension works incredibly well on it, probably better than a regular mountain bike because you've got such a huge amount of weight on the main triangle. But the downside of that is the suspension works so well, I find you feel quite isolated from the terrain.
Yeah.
And you don't really feel when you're going to lose traction. You kind of know about it on a regular bike.
Yeah, no, totally.
And you make microscopic adjustments the entire time, don't you?
Yes, you're totally right, yeah.
Which you kind of just don't with an e-bike, but it is something you will get accustomed to and use. So I'm not sure there is a better job for.
I think just bike time is good time. It doesn't matter what you're on. Bike time is good time.
But definitely practice those sort of low-speed beginner skills. Anyone should be doing that, whether it's e-bike or none.
Now, when it comes to essential skills on an e-bike, then the track stand has got to be number one, and it's going to come in handy when you're tackling uphill sections where there's slow bits where you're going to stop and gather yourself to move on to the next section. All technical terrain when you're going over roots and rocks, it's always going to come handy where you can just gather yourself for a few seconds, regain your poise, and then move on to the next section.
This one's an interesting one, Henry. This is from Meowcat1234.
Nice.
What? Good name, yeah. What is the quietest motor that you've ridden?
Well, I think this is quite an interesting question because it's something that a lot of things are kind of opinion. What's better? What's that? But I suppose this is something
It's just
that
noise,
is
isn't it?
objective. Like that's the decibels, I suppose. Chris was saying that on his new bike, the motor is very, very, very quiet.
Yeah, on the new Specialized Lever, in fact, I've got one of those as well. I think his is slightly better spec than mine, as you'd imagine. I think they've got like they've got an internal belt on those. It does make them a bit quieter than those just turning gears around. Although, you know, performance, they're all very different, they offer different traits and stuff like that. I've not really noticed the motor on most of them, to be honest, these days.
Is the noise something you think would bother you?
No, I think the first time I rode an e-bike, we're talking, about 3 years back, then it was quite noticeable. But, you know, the bikes were a lot heavier, the motors were a bit more fundamental compared to what we have now. I think, you know, in the future they might be even quieter again.
Yeah, it's funny, you know, there's so many things on our bikes, be it brakes, drivetrains, whatever, that they make noise, but there's something I personally find, I don't know why it is, but a noise when something is functioning properly doesn't bother you in an innate way. It does, you know, it's not a nasty sound, but as soon as something breaks, then it does.
It's grinding.
It's grinding and horrible.
Although noisy brakes.
Noisy brakes.
I'd rather take my chances and not use them than noisy brakes.
But you know, when they do the old turkey gobble or something, it's like, you know, it's no drama. I think one thing I've noticed from other people riding e-bikes is actually the drivetrains themselves are sometimes not, we're talking anyone, geared for e-bikes.
Yeah.
So things like the chain rings get really spiked really soon.
Yeah, so they're wearing them out.
The wear is so much louder than the motor. So maybe that's something to consider if you want to keep your e-bike silent.
Okay, next up from Ethan Petrus. Can e-mountain bikes do super steep roll-ins?
Well, I mean, we have got geologist Chris Smith here who knows every quarry in the southwest like the back of his hand.
He actually does. That is a known fact.
Yeah, he just literally goes up to anywhere, just soil sediment. Loves it. But he's done some real steep roll-ins.
There's nothing you can't do on an e-bike, I don't think.
Yeah, I think he said before something like, you know, there is that, although it's not, you know, specific to e-bikes, the shape of the down tube with that motor, it kind of has that
It's almost like a sump car, isn't it? Yeah, like you see on a trials motorcycle.
But you do see it on some mountain bikes as well. Thinking like those Marins have quite a horizontal part of the down tube before it sweeps up. You know, so I wouldn't say it's specific to e-bikes, but you know, you've got to ride what you've got and being aware when you're doing those super steep roll-ins, if it's going to drag, you know, that's something you need to bear in mind. Yeah,
we're going to throw you over actually to a video on how to ride super steep terrain, and that should clear some of that up.
Okay, so let's talk about where you need to be on that bike as soon as you drop into that steep bit of terrain. As soon as that front wheel crests and drops into the face, you need to get that weight immediately over the back of the bike. And I mean literally right over that rear axle. Your bum needs to be behind the saddle, really driving those tyres into the ground to ensure you've got maximum braking surface. Get those arms pushed out in front of you nice and straight, nice and not stiff, but just enough resistance in there to get on your line, pushing you backwards, keeping you behind the bike. You want to drop those heels in, pushing into the pedals, keep that head up, looking ahead on that desired line.
Oh, it's just a simple one from Blake Farber. How long is GMBN and EMBN going for?
Well, GMBN has been, is it 5 years?
Yeah, 5 years, yeah.
And how long's EMBN?
EMBN's nearly 2, just like tech.
Yeah, I was going to say,
so
same
it
age,
could be 2 years. I think it was literally the first day in January, we opened business. So coming up soon, actually, for our 2-year anniversary. Over to Professor Widesteps now. Can an e-bike replace a trail bike?
Ooh, well, that's a tough question. It depends what trail biking is a term, what it means to you. Has a huge variety. To some people, it's just basically a bit more than cross country. Other people, they say trail biking is kind of like a stripped down term of doing some properly gnarly stuff. So, I mean, some people on that more cross-country side, I think, consider trail biking to have an emphasis on lung busting as well.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, how you ride
I partially do as well, to be fair.
Yeah, how an e-bike comes into that.
Yeah.
It really depends on your own definition. What do you think?
I don't know. I think without swerving the question, you know, e-bike is just another mountain bike. It's not like, I don't believe it's a separate category. It's just everyone has the type of bike that they need to ride, a downhill bike, an enduro bike, an e-bike. You know, recently I've been riding the e-bike, and what I did notice in that real spell of bad weather we had was how much longer riding August, how long riding a normal mountain bike can take when you're just trudging through the mud stuff. And I went out and rode a 25-mile loop, pretty much all the local hills, in a touch over 2 hours, and I did a max heart rate actually doing that, which I was quite surprised at. And I got home and I was absolutely done. And I reckon that would have been at least 4.5 hours doing that on the normal bike. So for winter, it's going to replace my trail bike. But I'm fortunate enough to have one of each at the moment. So
yeah, I mean, I think as well it comes down to, I personally don't understand if I had an e-bike and was thinking I really wanted to go and get some proper e-biking in or trail riding, I wouldn't want to be climbing the same stuff that I would be on a trail ride, long fire road climbs, gradual, I don't want to be like, cool, let's go and do some moto trial stuff.
Yeah, for sure, yeah.
So I think, although you said what trail riding means to you, I think it goes into the e-bike's favour of being like, listen, if you've got this, then I'd like to see a lot of trail centres do e-bike climbs.
Oh god, yeah, that'd be amazing.
Yeah. I'd like to see Bike Park Wales instead of just people smashing up the
proper challenging climbs.
Let's really push and actually make e-biking, a bit more sort of. I guess I don't think it's unfair to say credible in its own right. Look, we can actually. It's not just about a shuttle. We can do stuff that is actually e-biking.
I've got a great idea for Jones.
Go on.
For Jones and Chris, they should build an uphill challenge.
Big time.
Kind of like the old Dirt 104 that Jones used to have in his garden and Top Gear test track, all that sort of stuff.
Going to do it in clipless pedals, or?
I don't know. Do you know what? I reckon he's going to take that one on, I think. Let's throw you over to e-bike versus trail bike with Georgia.
Here she is.
That was fun.
Yeah? Why?
Had it on turbo the whole way. Whew.
If you had to go and race that track now,
Yeah.
what would you choose?
This was super fast and turbo, as you would expect, right?
Common sense, right?
Come on. But I think because I spend most of my time on my stump jumper, I'm at home on it, I feel comfortable on it, I know how it works, I know how it's going to react to things, whereas this is a different kettle of fish, which is amazing still, but I think if I was racing, then I'd be riding my stumpy.
All right, over to Edwing Mama. Why do people hate on e-bikes so much? I think Henry's got a few thoughts on this.
I mean, listen, I don't hate e-bikes.
There we go.
I don't. I think they open a lot of riding, less cars on the road, X, Y, Z. I think there is a lack of clarity in some things regarding trail access.
Yeah, for sure.
Which sometimes then fuels the fire. Actually, what you want is progressively minded forestry commissions, etc., that say, we're going to open this up, these are the reasons we can do this here, these are the reasons we can't do this here, and then it's just the facts. And then people won't get so militant about trying to twist the facts to suit their own agenda.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's going to change wherever you are in the world as well. There's far more trail access issues in America, for example, than we currently have here in the UK.
Yeah.
We're pretty lucky, by all accounts,
I
with
think so.
the fact of, the stuff we can ride on our doorstep, and there's no real no rules stopping us doing that.
Yeah, I mean, it's something we talked about earlier on about doing your apprenticeship on a non-e-bike. That is important for me as well. I feel that through that, it's kind of learning about how deep and rich cycling culture is.
Yeah.
But also, cycling culture, for me, is hinged upon mastery. It's about getting better at things. It's about accomplishment. And I do worry that e-biking somewhat undermines that. I'm not saying that you can't be challenged on an e-bike, but it's actually about respecting the challenge in the first place. If you go, some people will just, I find it personally, say I'm going up a fire road and, just turn along and people like, oh, vroom, 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 vroom.
Yeah, that's all wrong.
E-bikes.
I've had that before.
And I feel like, actually, mountain biking is the
basic
culture.
trail etiquette is needed.
That sort of thing, and actually understanding that this sport isn't just a pastime for a lot of people. It's something that people are deeply passionate about.
I know. So, it's both it's a double-edged sword, isn't it? Because you've got this side of it that is frustrating, but then it's also really cool because you go to a trail centre and you see a whole bunch of people now riding bikes that perhaps would not have even put a leg over a bike.
No, I completely
And I
agree.
think that's amazing. And actually, some of them, Jones was telling me this the other day, that some older guys he knows, they've come into sport on e-bikes and now they've developed a few skills and they're now buying normal mountain bikes. And it's actually going back the other way.
Completely.
It's crazy.
And I think it's also really important to say that there are bad eggs that give any sport a bad name.
Oh, yeah.
There are mountain bikers that drop litter everywhere.
Yep.
And at the same time, it wouldn't be fair to tar everyone with the same brush.
Yeah.
But like I said, appreciating that how deeply passionate some people are. And one of the things that Steve and I do sometimes have been known to come to lock horns over is that, I'm happy for people to e-bike,
Yeah.
but I don't want to be told that I need to e-bike.
Oh yeah, you've got to bear in mind that Steve's always right, isn't he?
Steve is always correct.
Yeah, he likes to sound his own voice.
He should be in cabinet, quite francly.
I guess your answer is people love to hate, unfortunately.
Yeah, they love to hate.
Give us some hating comments down there. Why not? Okay, so Fast JJ, what is the best full sus eMTB upgrade?
Oh, in my opinion, it'd be tyres.
Yep, I'm straight with you on that.
Yeah, your tyres are the first and only contact point with the ground.
Yep.
The whole bike has to rely upon the information fed to it via the tyres.
Yep.
So some grippy, dual ply, even
Downhill casing
tyres.
At least on the rear. Do what Specialized do, for example. They provide you with a downhill casing rear tyre and a regular on the front. Save a little bit of weight, but you've got that support.
Yeah, and also you've got to think about how, say if you have a heavy hit that's a sharp, fast impact, the better the tyre, the better casing that tyre has, and the more it can damp that. And that suddenly means the less your compression circuit's having to do. So then you can actually back off your compression circuit just because the bike is dealing with that before it even relies upon the damper.
Interesting stuff, yeah.
So that means you can run less compression and, just so many things, even on a micro level, having like a good soft compound tyre.
Yeah.
Where we were talking about it in the texture last week, it almost is like, with correct indentations in like a high level tyre, it will form essentially little suction cups over the trail and read it and nothing better.
Yeah, the type of rubber makes a massive difference. So yeah, I'm with Henry on that one. Definitely downhill casing and sticky rubber, really.
Now, many people describe these 2.8 as plus-size tyres, and that's due to the large volume. And very often people ride them at lower pressures. For me, at 90 kilos, probably about 22 psi compared to about 30 psi, which I'd normally ride in a heavier casing tyre. The large volume, as I mentioned, has an effect of cushioning your ride and also is excellent for climbing due to the large contact patch. But it can also mean that the tyres can have less support under aggressive cornering.
Okay, so Fire2 wants to know, do I need a full face helmet for bike parks in Wales?
What do you think on this one, Doddy?
I think if you're thinking about full face helmet protection, then you should probably have it straight out.
Yeah, done.
And bearing in mind that on an e-bike, what it enables you to ride, if you're going to go, let's just say Bike Park Wales as a specific place, you've just said bike parks in Wales, a lot of the trails are downhill focused and you can shuttle yourself up to the top, so why not?
Yeah, why not?
Have the extra protection.
Yeah, I think as well, especially if you are, not going to get max heart rate, but you're just kind of sauntering up the climbs, you don't get that hot, especially in winter coming.
Especially in this country as well.
Yeah.
And in Wales. You never get too hot.
You never get too hot. But you're riding in that bike park, or wherever, a bike park, to do as much gravity-focused riding as possible.
Yeah.
Like you said, if you're thinking about before you get there, do you need a full face? The chances are you're going to come to things that really challenge you, and that's the beauty of a bike park.
Yeah.
You can rattle through the various grades quickly, and over a couple of weeks of visits, get really proficient and just see your riding turn on its head.
Oh yeah, for sure. Instant progression.
Yeah, so knowing that you're going to be challenging your limits of your riding, why not go protected? I think do it.
And especially now with this is thanks to the enduro race scene actually. All the full face ventilated helmets are around on the market, so you kind of got somewhere that sits in the middle of your regular open face helmet and a full face downhill lid.
Yeah.
You've got that extra sort of peace of mind and a safety for your face, extended protection on the back of your head, but you've still got ventilation. So I think that's definitely something perhaps we should get like Steve and Jonesy to have a look into down the future, because they're a really good thing.
Yeah, a bit of a tip as well. If you do find yourself, you have got a more traditional downhill orientated helmet and you're doing a bit of pedalling, you can just pull out the cheek pads, put them in your goggle strap or your pocket.
That's a great hack.
And honestly, the difference it makes is vast.
Well, there we go. That's the end of this week's Ask EMBN. Don't forget, any questions, let us know. Use that hashtag underneath there. I'm going to throw you over to, how much faster is an e-bike right down here.
Contentious subject. I'm going to throw you to, do you need e-bike specific components on your bike? Ooh. Click down there for that one. As always, don't forget to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell.
Ding ding.
Thank you very much, guys. We'll see you later.